Welcome to Potentials. This is Leja, and today we have on our show, once again, Frank Chille, who is going to be sharing a story with us. We also have Ed Kuberski and Andrea Martin. And we're going to start with Frank because he's going to share this very interesting story that he has to tell us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so wonderful to be able to share with you and Andrea and Ed once again. And I had mentioned that I lived in California on 2 separate occasions. And one of the times that I was living out there, I got a chance to meet Gabriel Green, who was a contactee himself. Him and his wife attended the giant rock conventions that were put on by George Van Tassel that started shortly after George Van Tassel had his own contact with Solganda and gave him the idea to the Integratron in the high desert area of Southern California. So Gabriel Green was a photographer in the Army during the Second World War, and he would photograph all the giant rock UFO conventions. And I would go out and visit him with my brother Simon. We moved out to California. He moved out to California about 6 months before I did. So we were going out to visit Gabe, and we would take maybe long weekends twice a month. And Gabe would share information with us. His home was extraordinary. It was like a museum because he had all this contactee information. He had all these books. He had manuscripts of books that were yet to be published. And he had footage of the giant rock UFO conventions. And I'll share this with you before we get into the story. Sometimes there'd be 4 or 5 of us there for a long weekend. And Gabe said sometimes he gets a call late at night on the phone, and he said there's usually messages for him, or somebody will come out of the desert and knock on his door, and they'll have information for him to publish in his newsletter. And this one night, the phone rang about 1 a.m. in the morning, and he said, "Frank, will you answer the phone for me?" And I said, "Sure, I'd be happy to." So I answered the phone, and I heard a series of clicks, and it was the hard line. It was a landline, and the voice sounded male, but it sounded as if it was a mechanical voice. And it said, "Gabriel Green, please." And as soon as I picked it up and I heard that voice, I knew it had to be from upstairs. So I said, "Gabe, this call's for you, and I think it's from upstairs." So he took the call, and he was taking notes during the phone call, about maybe on the phone for maybe about 12 or 15 minutes. And after he got done, he said, it was from our friends upstairs. He said they were using the ship's computer to send a frequency down to his landline so that they could have a communication between him and the ship. And it was really interesting to hear that voice. He said the people he was talking to didn't have that metallic voice. They had a voice like ours, but he said that was a connection through the ship's computer to set up the call. I thought that was really interesting. But Gabe called me and he said, "Frank," he said, "you need to come out here." He said, "There's something that's going to be occurring very, very special this Sunday." He said, the Yucca Valley Savings and Loan, that's a high desert area, Yucca Valley. It's the high desert area above Palm Springs. He said the bank was going to be sponsoring a woman who was going to be talking about her experiences there. And he said, "Can you come out here and could Simon come and can you make a call and ask for several others if they can make it?" I said, "Sure, I'd be happy to." Well, there's this area in Yucca Valley called Christ Desert Park. And it was started by an aircraft engineer who worked in Long Beach, California. And he acquired this property. He was very religious. He acquired 3.5 acres of property. And he started making these 15-foot tall statues representing events from the New Testament. Like it had Jesus at the wedding feast of Cana, Jesus talking to the little children, Jesus at the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus on recreation or resurrection when he was resurrected from the tomb. And he had all these 15-foot statues. And Simon and I, whenever we would go out to the high desert area, we would always stop by there because the energy was absolutely extraordinary. And we'd stand next to these statues of Jesus and the apostles and take photos with them. So we went to this event. It was on 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, and the bank opened specially for this. And a woman addressed us. Her name was Barbara Beaver. And she was a seamstress. She worked in Yucca Valley, and she would do dress repairs, and she would do alterations on garments. And there's an area that backs up to Christ Desert Park. It's a series of short hills. They're probably maybe 300 feet tall, maybe 400 feet tall. So she lived in an apartment complex called Sunrise Apartments, and it faced this small mountain range, small hill range, and it was at the above Christ Desert Park. So she was on her bed in a yoga position meditating, and she had her window open, and she said she saw this blue light that was bouncing up and down along the series of hills above Christ Desert Park. So all of a sudden, the blue orb stopped, and a beam of light came out of the orb and filled her room with a shaft of blue light. And she heard this voice in her head saying, "Barbara, come to Christ Desert Park." So she said she felt a wonderful sense of euphoria within this beam of light. And she was wearing her sweatsuit. She had a yoga sweatsuit on and really nothing else. And she was barefoot, and it was in the summertime. So she left her apartment complex, and there's a dirt road that links where her apartment complex is in the back to the parking lot of Christ Desert Park. So the parking lot of Christ Desert Park is huge. It's a huge, huge parking area. And this was probably about 10 o'clock at night. She said there was no moon. She said you could see all the stars. And she said she walked into the entrance of Christ Desert Park and was at the outer edge of the parking lot. And all of a sudden she heard this voice say to her, "Barbara, stand perfectly still." And she did. And she heard this whoosh, and this huge craft landed in the parking lot. And she said it was blue with a violet rim around the edge of it. And she said a ramp opened near the outer edge of the craft, and it's like she was invited to come on board. So she had no hesitation. She walked up the ramp, and she said she saw the most incredible geometric shapes in the outer part of the ship. And she said colors she had never seen before. And she said she was mesmerized by it. And she said the lighting was indirect. There was no direct lighting, but she said there was no shadows. And then she heard this voice say, oh, the ramp closed behind her. And she heard this voice say, "Barbara, you're in the outer part of our craft." She said, the voice said to her, "You need to remove your outer clothes before we could bring you into the inner part of the craft." And because there may be bacteria or something on her clothing. So Barbara started to get really panicky because she knew she had nothing on underneath her jumpsuit. So all of a sudden, this wave of love energy completely enveloped her, and she felt everything was all right. There was nothing wrong with doing this. When she had that thought, a canister came up from the floor, and she said it looked like a big hamper. She said it was maybe about 1.5 feet, 2 feet in diameter. And she said the lid opened up. So she took her jumpsuit off, her jogging suit. She put it in this container. She said the lid closed on the container, recessed into the floor of the craft. And then she said one of the panels on the side opened up. And she said she saw this garment hanging on something that she perceived to be a hanger. So she touched the cloth, and she said it felt like no cloth she had ever felt before. She said it was not like silk. She said it was not like cotton, but she said it was velvety soft to the touch. She said it felt almost like liquid. And she said she slipped it on, and she said at her wrist and at her ankles, there were openings. And she said when she put her hand over the opening, the slit in her wrist would close in the garment. And she would do that, close the garment, and then on her ankles did the same thing. And she kept playing with it. She had never seen anything like that before because she's a seamstress and she's used to seeing, zippers and Velcro and stuff like that. This had none of that. The garment actually sealed itself. So after her playing with it for a couple minutes, 10 minutes or so, she said the inner part of the craft opened up, and she said she saw the control room, and she said there were 4 beings there. She said the first 2 beings was a man and a woman, and she said they looked like Greek gods. She said they were probably about maybe 6 feet tall. The man and woman had golden colored hair and beautiful blue eyes, and they were statuesque, like a Greek god would appear to somebody. And she said they were wearing gold one-piece suits. And she said there was a short being there. She said he was maybe about 4 feet tall. And she said that he had the most incredible violet colored eyes. And she said they were huge, but beautiful violet colored eyes. And he looked at her very lovingly. And she said the last one was a very tall person. She said he must have been 7 feet tall, and he had violet colored skin. And she said he looked like an ancient Egyptian. And she's wondering, why are they asking me to come into their craft and to meet with them? And she started thinking, I'm nobody. She said, I'm a seamstress. I don't have any educational background. I don't have any special skills other than I'm a seamstress. So the fella who looked like a Greek male god came over to her and put this disc in her hand. And it almost looks like what we would call CD today or DVD. She said it was about 3.5 inches in diameter. There was nothing on it. But when she held it in her hands, it opened up like a holographic film showing her life from the time she was a little girl up to present. And she said when she started viewing it, she started weeping like a baby. And she said she couldn't control her emotion. She was crying so much. So she said the four beings came around her to comfort her. And they were like touching her on the shoulder. And she said the reason that she was crying is that when she was a young girl, about 5 or 6, she used to look up at the stars at night and wonder if there's people who are out there that we could communicate with. And she was realizing this was a fulfillment of her wish as a little girl to meet visitors from the stars. So they told her, they said, Barbara, we want you to work with us. We find that you're very pure of spirit and very pure of heart. And we would like you to work with us. We want to set up a program here on Earth where we're going to have people from other planets come and live with the Earth beings, and people from Earth could come and live on other civilizations amongst the stars. And they took her on a flight from Christ Desert Park to the other planets in our solar system. And they showed her that each planet had life on it. And the life looked like us, look, this physical form that we have now. And she said some of them had different colors of skin. She said different heights, but she said they were all populated. And she is not an artist, but she'd made watercolors of her experience with the visitors. And she was displaying them there at this event at the Yucca Valley Savings and Loan. So we saw what it was that she was experiencing. She was showing us these incredible portraits, also of the beings. So the presentation lasted probably about an hour and a half. And there was about 100 of us there in the room. And she allowed questions to be asked. And folks were asking questions. And I said to her, I said, Barbara, I said, does the success of this program depend on the attitudes of us in the room that are receiving this information from you? And she said, yes. She said, we're all being monitored on a big screen. And she said, based upon how your reaction is to this, they'll know whether or not this will be a successful program. And all of us were encouraged by it. And we were all happy to hear that this would be enacted and that Barbara would be coordinating this. It's like she was going to be a cosmic ambassador. So she had never spoken before publicly. She was very shy, but it's like she rose to the occasion and presented this information to us so beautifully. And we were so happy for her. We were congratulating her for what she was being chosen to do. And we said we would help her in any way that we could. So it ended. And then when we went back to Gabriel Green's home, and we were talking about how exciting this was, that this woman from Yucca Valley was being chosen to be an ambassador, and people from other civilizations would get an opportunity to live with Earth families and vice versa. And they were getting us prepared for our reinitiation back into our cosmic family. So I went back to my home, and Simon went back to his home. We both lived along the coast in California, not in the desert area. So about 3 weeks later, we decided to go out and visit Gabriel Green again. And we would always stop in the supermarket there and pick up goodies to bring back to Gabe's house. When we were there, we would have a meal together. So in his local store, I saw Barbara. And I said, Barbara, it's good to see you. How you doing? And her whole demeanor was like she was shut down. It's like she didn't smile. She avoided eye contact. She didn't even say hello to us. And we did our shopping. We went back to Gabe's house, and we said, Gabe, we saw Barbara in the supermarket, and she acted as if she wanted to keep her distance from us. She didn't want to talk to us at all or even acknowledge us. And he said, Frank, you'll never guess what happened. And I said, what? He said, after she gave that presentation at Yucca Valley Savings and Loan, she said she started getting phone calls from people saying that she was trying to take God away from us, and that people were banging on her door telling her that what she was doing was wrong, that it was evil. And they pushed this woman to the point where she became a recluse and she didn't come out of her apartment. And we never heard any more about her. And there were stories that she had gone to Florida. And I did a presentation about 2 years ago, Mount Shasta. There was a summer conference there, and I told this story. And they made copies of the tape of the presentation because I showed portraits of the beings. And one of the women that was there, she lived in Arizona, in northern Arizona, and she shared it with her friends that happened to be her neighbors. And the one fellow who was watching it, her neighbor, he said, that fellow's talking about my mother. He was the son of Barbara. And the lady or Michael connected with me, and we became friendly and exchanged information. And he said, Frank, my mom never left Yucca Valley. She would stay inside all day long and only come out at night. And when she would come out, she would do whatever she needed to do, shopping, and then just come right back home again. But she continued to interact and communicate with the visitors and did other portraits, which Michael shared with me. And he sent me this beautiful photograph of her when she went to visit Mount Shasta. And God love her. They chose the right person, but the intimidation that she had to go through was just so sad that somebody would be threatened and be told that she's trying to take God away from us. Well, she's trying to open us to a wider conception of God and that we're all representatives of God. And I was glad to hear that she continued the rest of her life without any more aggravation. But there's also a portrait she has of her and Jesus that's amazing. And there's another one of her meeting Native American chiefs that are on board the ships. And her son Michael shared those with me. And he said, Frank, he said she lived out the rest of her life as a recluse because she had gone forward with this information. And apparently that was not the time, but hopefully the time is now.
What time? What year? Around what year was that?
This was in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the late 80s. And what a wonderful woman she was. And what I'll do is I'll send you some of the images that Michael shared with me and a photograph of Barbara. But she was a loving soul. She really was. She was maybe about 4'11". She was a little woman, but she had such wonderful energy. Oh my God. She just bubbled with effervescence because she was so happy to be part of this and to be made aware that we're part of a cosmic family and that there's beings living on other planets in our solar system. And, they're looking forward to embracing us openly.
That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing
Thank you.
that. It's
Thank
very
you. It's
inspiring.
always remained with me. It's always remained with me, Linda. And it was so nice to be able to connect with her son. And her son is probably in his mid-40s now. And he has tremendous reverence for his mother, which he should have. And I feel that Barbara's dream will still come true.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Is she still alive to this day, or is she?
No, she had passed. She had passed. She had passed. And but I feel that her work is still going on upstairs. And
yeah.
Well, it's still going on. It's still going on right here. We're just sharing.
Yeah, of course.
That's right. That's right. Frank, do you have any idea where she was from? Like those beings, purple skin and
my impression was that they were from our solar system.
Oh, wow.
That's my impression, that they were from our solar, because she said every planet she was taken to had life. And she said they were such loving beings. And she said they were concerned. They're concerned about how we treat each other here and they can't believe that we treat each other the way we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's one of the contactees that I've had come into contact with during the course of my life. And I told this to Andrea that when I've met people like this, it's like it's become part of my DNA and it stays with me. And it's wonderful to be able to share the stories because they're timeless and it's about our own families. You know, we're from the stars. We're all visitors.
Yes.
And you know, Frank, when you talked about contactees with me, like when I won the radio there,
yes,
I hadn't gone and had that Akashic record with Rebecca Rose yet, the Akashic reading, and I didn't really know that I was a contactee. And then after you're talking about me too, right? Because I had an experience when I was 12.
Yes. Well, Andrea told me that apparently the healing that was performed on you was done by Soltech.
Yes, and you know what's so crazy is you gave me Known by Their Presence after the radio show.
Yeah.
And when I found that out from Dr. Norma, I was like, Soltech, that sounds familiar to me. And I went through the stuff, and there was a painting of Soltech, which is fantastic. But then there was also a clip of Soltech's ship.
That's right. There's a
so
woman.
How did you do that, Frank? How did you do that?
Well, synchronicities occur in our life when you least expect it. There's a woman that I know by the name of Shantara Rose, and she was living in Cottonwood, Arizona, and she told me that on her birthday, this was about 5 years ago, a craft was outside of her house, outside of her bedroom window, and performed this aerial display of activity. And she said, it was Soltech. And she said, Frank, Soltech is my father. And there happened to be a representative from the state of Washington who was there, and he photographed that experience and put it on YouTube. And I think I sent it to you, Andrea, and I think I sent it to you as well, Linda.
Yes, actually, I might have a picture of it.
Okay.
I'm going to see if I can find it.
It was truly amazing to find that after the Akashic reading with Dr. Norma.
Yes.
Yeah, that was truly something, actually.
And to find out there was Soltech. Andrea told me that it was Soltech that had come to do the healing with you. He's a sun technician.
Yeah.
It was Soltech and it was Saint Germain, and they took me on. Yeah, and they took me and they had me on a rose quartz healing bed. Yeah, there's Soltech. Yeah. It was pretty amazing. And the other thing that happened was we were in this big chamber, and there was hieroglyphic writing all on the walls everywhere. And as they performed the thing, the ceremony or the healing, all of those things started to come down into me. And they said at the end, there was nothing left on the walls, and that was all my Akashic records that were missing.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was pretty neat.
Fabulous.
And then also they said that my spinal cord, but my light cord had phrase on it, like a cable coming undone. And she said there were thousands of them. And they were all from the attacks that I've gone through since 1987, because I've been talking about free energy and everything, right? And had all kinds of problems. So, but they repaired all that, and then they gave me my Akashic records back. So that was really, really interesting.
Extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Linda, could you please put up that image of Soltech again? I want to mention something.
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Not a problem. Okay, thank you. I wanted to say to you that I was going through YouTube and I came across that clip. And when I saw that clip, I brought it to Shantara Rose's attention. And she said, Frank, I can't believe that that's actually the event that occurred with Soltech celebrating my birthday with that light display outside my bedroom window. And she told me, she said, Frank, the painting of Soltech by Celaya is exactly how he looks. And
I had another question for you too. Above that, it said the Venetian Akashic records. Like when you, and so what is that all about? Is Soltech from Venus then?
No, he's not. He's from the sun. actually, he lives on the sun, believe it or not. The Akashic Records images that I gave you, there's a woman that I knew by the name of Roberta Herzog, and she was an Akashic record reader, and she would meet with the curator of the Akashic Records. His name is Abu Kashkar, and Abu Kashkar would work with Roberta, and whenever she was doing a reading for someone, she would be transported to, all she had to do was shift her focus. She didn't have to go into trance. She would shift her focus and be in the Akashic Records room with Abu Kashkar, and he would bring over the person whose life was to be given a reading for. He would bring it over. Are you ready for this? In a disc that looked like a CD or DVD, very similar to what Barbara Beaver's experience was. And Roberta, Abu Kashkar would put it in her hand, and a holographic display of that person's life would be given to Roberta, and Roberta would relate that to the person as their Akashic record reading. And
wow,
it's really profound. She wrote a book based upon the Akashic Records. It's called Beauty Unknown. I'm sorry, it's called the Akashic Records. It's just called Akashic Records, and it's available. I could send you a PDF of it. It's long out of print, and all the illustrations were done by an artist of renown here on the East Coast. He lives in Pennsylvania. His name is Brian Keeler, and Brian had done a series of illustrations that are in the book that you'll get a chance to see. And those two color ones I sent you, or that I'd sent to, I had sent it to you and Andrea and also to Linda, are from that book. And Roberta had told me that when she was working with Brian Keeler, because he's never done spirit work like that. He's a very good artist, but he'd never done spirit work. She said she was told to sit behind him as he was painting, and that there would be a master artist behind Roberta, transferring the energy from himself to Roberta to Brian Keeler to create those illustrations.
That's amazing.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll send you the PDF of her work, because it's long out of print and it's beautiful. The original manuscript was 500 pages, and it was going to be done in 2 volumes, because it's a tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of knowledge in it. And but the paintings of like Soltec, they were created by Celia Winkler. She was an artist for Walt Disney Corporation, and she retired after 35 years of working for Disney, and she became a Buddhist and lived in Yucca Valley at a Buddhist retreat. And when Simon and I would go visit Gabriel Green, we would stop and see Celia. And she lived in a modest little cottage, probably 400 or 500 square feet in diameter. And it was very humble, but it was perfectly suited for her. And she would, at the first rays of sunlight, next to her door was this pane of glass that was the height of the door, maybe about 1.5 feet wide, and maybe 6 feet tall. And she said at the first beam of light, a being would materialize in her cottage and would stand perfectly still until she captured her likeness, and in oil paints. And Soltec is one of them, and the other ones are the ones that I shared with Andrea and you, Linda, and also Eddie. And she would send them to this facility in Northern California. It was called the Manca Retreat, and there was a husband and wife there. His name was Sam, and her name was White Dove. And Sly would package up the oil portrait and send it to them, and they would publish a newsletter with messages from these beings, and they would be sent out on a monthly basis. So all of Sly's portraits were in this gallery in Northern California, in Grass Valley. And the first time I walked in there, I started to weep like a baby, because it was like looking at family photographs. Because they looked so familiar. They look so familiar. And the reason that they wanted their images captured is that they wanted people to know them by sight, so that when disclosure is made known and they land and they openly interact with us, we'll know them by their names, like Corton or Soltec or Manca or Hatan, and just remarkable things. And I have a story about Hatan I would like to share with you at some point. I don't know what the hour is right now.
It's about 10 to 4.
10 to 4. I may save that for another time, but put back Helios again.
Okay. I was just going to share a few of the pictures that you sent so that they could see what you did and what you sent, because they're really beautiful.
They really are. They're extraordinary. Yeah, Helios was unbelievable. When I saw that, I felt as if I could feel the intensity of the heat from Helios emanating from the painting, almost as if it was giving me a sunburn. Some of those portraits, it's like you're looking at it and it almost burns the eyes looking at them because they're real beings. They really are.
Yeah, they're amazing. There's so many of these.
He would live on the sun as well, like Soltec.
He is the god of the sun. Helios is the god of the sun.
The god of the sun. Wow.
Yes. And there's a woman who wrote a story. That's Maitreya. That is really a very powerful image. And can you see the dove over his left shoulder?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. He's the new world teacher. He's the new world teacher that's going to be made known. And their eyes are unbelievable. Their eyes are really, really alive. I shared this with Linda, that I've shared those images with people and they've made copies of them and they put it around their room, their apartment, or their house. And they said some of the individuals have started contacting the individuals who made portraits and copies of these and are in contact with them and are interacting with them now.
Wow. Yes. So maybe I should put Soltec's picture up?
I think that would be nice.
Yeah, why not?
and ask to openly interact with them again. You have no reason not to openly ask to interact with them. All we have to do is ask for their energy to work with us, and they'll work with us. Yes.
Great. That's beautiful.
That's Aleph. He's a beautiful energy, just really, really beautiful energy.
Yes.
And see what's coming out of his forehead. It's amazing.
Yeah. Anybody who wants to take screenshots of these, feel free to do that. You can always take a screenshot and then print them out and then put them, in your room.
If you come across Hatans, could you put Hatans up?
Oh, I've not.
Oh, that's Mother Mary. That's a beautiful image, isn't it? Universal Mother Mary. What energy emanates from that?
Yes. Try to find the one you're talking about. There's so many.
And I want to tell you, when we would visit Celia's little cottage, it's like you could feel like you could levitate. There was so much energy in that little cottage. And Roberta, who wrote the book about the Akashic Records, she came out to visit us, and we wanted to introduce her to Celia. So,
which one is the one you were referring to? That you wanted me to? Yeah, I can't see their names. It's cut off. So, what does he look like?
There's a star over his left shoulder, and he's in front of a mountain.
In front of a mountain?
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
That's it. Now, that's Hatan. He's the record keeper of the galaxy. And that image of him is overlighting Mount Shasta. And one of the contactees that Gabriel Green was working with was asked if he could take some photographs of another world. And the star being said to this contactee, his name was Robert. He said, get a 35 millimeter camera with 3 rolls of film. And he did. Robert did that. And he gave the camera and the 3 rolls of film to this person, the star visitor. And the star visitor went to Hatan's home planet and took a series of photographs that I got a chance to see that are really, truly extraordinary. And I'll be happy to share them with you in a future program. But Hatan is the record keeper of the galaxy, and on his world, it's very similar to Earth, except smaller. He's got a room that has thousands of television screens, monitors that look into different parts of the galaxy to view what's occurring. And all those images are stored on disks that are protected there on his home planet. And I'll go into more of that when I do a presentation about Hatan and the photographs taken on his home planet. Just really extraordinary things.
Did he say what planet he was on?
He's from his own planet. Hatan has his own planet, yes. because he's a record keeper of the galaxy. And you should see the protective devices they have set up there, Andrea, to protect it from other people coming in, other civilizations or other cultures from destroying or altering them. My God, it's unbelievable.
Wow, that's amazing.
This is Sutko. He's a space detective. He helps to uncover things that have been hidden, and he travels all around our galaxy doing incredible work and great energy. And see if you could bring up Corton. Corton's one of my favorites too. He's got such a loving face, and it's like you can't wait to shake hands with him. Well, they said when we meet with them openly, there's going to be a lot of weeping of joy because we're going to be able to interact with them directly again.
Yeah.
And that's why Celaya did all these portraits.
Which one is he? What does he look like?
Oh, he's got a beautiful smile and his eyes are looking upward. And I think there's blue and gold in the image.
Is it? Okay. I'm not sure if this is the right one. Is that
no,
it?
no. Yeah, that's it. That is it. That's Corton. That's his ship. That's it. Yes. Yep. That's him.
Cool.
Doesn't he have a friendly face like you want to interact and sit down and talk with him?
Yes.
Definitely. Yes. Yep.
I mean, they're all brothers and sisters of light. They really are.
It's beautiful.
I have a relative on the Pleiades, and he is just the cutest, friendliest, cuddliest thing like ever. He is so. I mean, he lights up the room. I mean, he's just so cute, and it's like, oh my God, he is the best thing.
Andrea, if you ever come into contact with any of these beings that you have images of, please let me know. I'd love to hear your comments or your feedback.
I can try to do that if I work on one of the pictures. Yeah.
Yes. This is an interesting one, Clayla. He says to study the images and the geometric shapes around his collar and his hat. And they said it'll open up higher levels of awareness and consciousness to you. And he said he wanted to be painted by Celaya showing these different geometric shapes because they're triggers for awareness and consciousness and higher levels of understanding.
That is super cool. Yeah, triggers for consciousness. Exactly, right?
Yep. He said just stare at them or meditate on those shapes and they'll open up higher levels of awareness and consciousness.
It looks like it's like a 5D or 6D kind of dimension that I'm seeing right here. That's amazing.
It really is. Can you imagine they all appeared in her cottage at sunrise and stood perfectly still until she captured their likeness, and then they would leave.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Great work.
Actually,
just great work. She did great work. And believe it or not, all her images of her work are all stored in a storage facility in Sedona, Arizona.
Well, they're not on display.
I'm trying to work with somebody else to free her work and also Roberta's work so that we could put them in a gallery setting so people could come and visit with them.
Thank you for doing that, Frank. That's amazing because people need to see
this. Isola. This person, Isola, is the master of magnetics. And again, his headband represents different energies and frequencies. And he said that if you work with him or allow him to work with you, he'll work with you to also open up levels of awareness with frequencies of how you could use them to benefit life and mankind.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I'm going to try to get all of them.
And Linda, I'm not kidding you. People have told me that the ones that they resonate to, they start communicating with the
I believe you.
person and sharing information with them. And it's like they become triggers. They've really become triggers.
Yeah, I could see that.
This one's wild.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah.
This is one of the masters of the rays. I believe this is the master of the fifth ray. I forget his name offhand.
The fifth
I mean,
ray.
look at that energy.
Wow,
that's beautiful.
That's intense. That is really intense.
Yeah. Roberta was an artist as well, but she said what Celaya did in capturing the eye energy of these beings in oil painting is unbelievable because when you look at them, those eyes are alive.
Oh,
those
absolutely.
eyes are alive.
Yes.
Could you put that one back up for a second? I want to just tell Frank
I was
something.
trying to get all of them. I'm trying to get all of them
sorry.
in because there's like a whole bunch of them. So I was trying to get them all before he has to go.
I was just about to say that is exactly what I felt when I was up there, because it was an undescribable feeling of energy that you'd never feel it on Earth, but that painting captures it kind of, right? Yeah. Amazing.
And again, can you imagine? It's all in oil paint. It's all in oil paint.
Beautifully done.
That would be beautiful if you could get them out.
She was well chosen for her work.
Yeah, it's too bad that she had to suffer so much, though, eh?
No, this is Celia Winkler. She's the one that this is a great one. This is Mercu, and he's from Mercury, and he has a command of spaceships. And isn't it interesting? They revealed not too long ago that they have found liquid amounts of water on Mercury. NASA admitted that there's liquid water on Mercury. And we've been told for years that it just is burning up because it's so close to the sun. That's not true.
And we know from Elena Denon that Val Thor actually lives on, not on Mercury, but on Venus, right? He's on Venus.
Yeah. They live inside. It's a biodome.
Yes. And this is Manka, and this is when he was on Earth as Viracocha. That's how he looked as Viracocha.
Viracocha.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's new.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And he's got a tremendous galactic command now. He really does.
Okay, let's see. Who have we not done? Oh, this one. That's amazing.
This is Valerian, I believe. Yep.
Yes.
Look at that ship. Isn't that beautiful, his ship?
Yes.
And look at the energy coming out of his head.
Oh, yeah.
Extraordinary. And everyone is distinctively different. Their eye energy is all distinctively different.
Yeah.
That's radiant. Like when you see that, that's just radiant.
It sure
Beautiful.
is.
I think I have a few more. Try to get them all. Who didn't I do? Oh, this one.
This is Voltra. Voltra is a space psychiatrist. He works with people who have energy imbalances to help to rebalance the energy mentally so that they can work on and conceive and complete what it is that they're here to do. And he asks for people to call on him. And he works with people who have issues with dependencies and with being unbalanced. And he uses frequencies to help bring the people back into balance again. And again, look at the headband around him.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
He's a space psychiatrist. A space psychiatrist.
I love his
would have never
eyes.
thought.
I mean, no, look at his eyes. You can tell they're calming. I mean, you just
yes.
feel that calming energy. It's like, wow, that's beautiful. Love it.
Can you see why, folks, where I really think that we should have a gallery where people could go in and see these originals?
Absolutely.
Yes, that's for sure.
Have I missed anyone? Let's see. I think there's one more that I didn't get.
Oh.
This is Roberta's master teacher. Okay. She created this, and this is all with colored pencil. And this was the person who taught her how to read the Akashic records. And he was quite an excelled rabbi here on Earth. And he worked with Roberta throughout her life.
Wow.
Easy.
Do you have the images too of Abu Kashgar and the Akashic records room?
Let me see. I might. Let me see. Wait, there's two that I think it's this one. Is that it?
That's it. Yeah. The guy on the right is Abu Kashgar, and the woman sitting down at the table is Roberta, and the woman whose hands are on Roberta's shoulder is one of Roberta's teachers. Her name is Fatiyuna. And can you see the discs on the table? Yep. The table looks like marble, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was handed one of those discs.
You were handed one, yes. Was it your own? Did they hand it to you, Andrea?
Yep. That was crazy when you said it was a disc. I'm like, oh my God.
Those are larger than I thought. I thought they were like smaller discs, but those are kind of
they're like,
yeah, like Andrea's indicating, yes. Do you have the other one? Because I want to make a comment about the other one.
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up.
That's crazy. I thought I was making that up. Oh my
God. No, you're not making it up, Andrea. You're right on.
You're not making
right
it up.
on.
Is this the? Oh wait, that's not
Funny.
it.
That's the cover of her book, the Akashic Records book, and I'll send it to all three of you. It's in PDF form because it's very, very rare.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Frank.
I think this is the one, right? This must be it.
No, that's inside the Integratron. That's a whole
awesome.
other. That's a whole other program I could talk to you about.
Oh,
yeah, that's awesome.
I'm trying to find that you're talking about.
Yeah, you'll see Apple Cash Car and you'll see Roberta in it, and I believe they're standing.
Okay, I hope I have
and
it.
There's like a library around them.
Oh, I didn't see it. That's weird. I don't see anything like that in here. Maybe I didn't accidentally didn't.
It would have been right next to the other one that you had a Apple Cash Car.
Yeah, it didn't. I must not have got that one like downloaded or something.
Okay, or I can send it to you again separately. I could send it to you again.
Yeah, because this is the only
the Integratron story.
Have, but that's probably not
That's
it.
the Integratron. That's the facility that was built by George Van Tassel under the guidance of Solganda, and it was for time travel and for rejuvenation. And there's some incredible stories I could share with you about that.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's one of the neatest things there isn't out there, actually, is that.
It looks like it doesn't belong on Earth because it's from the stars.
And Frank, it's all built out of wood too, isn't it? There's not any metal.
There's no metal in it at all. It fits together like a giant wooden puzzle.
Wow, that's amazing. Because I build things, and to see something like that shape, to do that would be incredibly hard. Yeah.
And it was all built with donations. And George Van Tassel got so much problems from the government and from the FDA because it was going to eliminate pharmaceuticals as we know it because it was going to rejuvenate the body. It's the same process. It's a highly charged negative ionization unit. And that's what the star beings use. And they have lifespans 24, 25, 2,600 years of age. You'd only have to go through there once every 35 years and your body would be rejuvenated.
And that's what I was going to ask you. So that would be similar to the pills that were developed by TRW.
Yes.
Yes.
So you won't have to do the going inside the Integratron. The pills that TRW has created and Genentech is going to be introducing to the public soon. I think I mentioned to you ladies the last time we were together. They said it starts working within 30 days.
Yes, that's amazing.
And Frank, you know what I said to the ladies? I said, if Frank gives you some breath mints, you should take them.
But you know what I use for breath mints? I use cloves.
Yes, cool. I do too.
Yes, whole cloves, because they're all natural. They aid digestion, and they're very good if somebody has tooth problems or anything like that. The clove oil deadens the pain.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not in any pain, but I just use them.
Eddie, they're going to taste like cloves, not mint.
That's right.
I haven't been in years for that reason. I just use cloves. I don't need to go to a dentist.
No, you're absolutely right. And you can't buy breath mint or gum or anything anymore that's made with sugar. It's all with aspartame. It's all with artificial sweeteners, which have such a negative effect on the body.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why they're there. That's the point.
Yeah. Dear ones, I need to go back to the world of illusion. Thank you for this opportunity of being able to share.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being on
and for sharing. An honor to be able to share. Thank you.
Thank you,
Frank.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Frank.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for listening, and ciao for now. That was a pleasure having Frank on.
Special moment always.
Yes.
Very special.
Thank you, always. Andrea, and thank you, Ed, for sharing this with me and for your comments and your questions. That was great. So I feel like we should cut it now because it's been a long program, and but thank you for contributing and being a part of this. This was amazing. I can't wait to have him on again.
I know, right?
Yeah.
On to the next. On to the next.
On to the next. Okay. Thank you. See you upstairs, everyone. Ciao for now.